You have just heard X-1, presented by the...
Back in Victorian England, a famous theologian posed a perplexing riddle. Why are the two top personalities in the Bible tagged with the numbers 7 and 11? Academics agree the answer is found in the stunning discovery of a hitherto secret Bible structure explained in a new book called The Genesis Grid. The discovery is so simple that preschool children could illustrate it. Certain claims are hugely controversial and may offend some, but at the X Zone, we've studied this awesome new book and agree with one expert, and I quote, "These discoveries appear to be beyond coincidence." So who or what hid this wonderful pattern in the Bible, and what might they do next? Find out more, X Zone Nation, and read reviews on www.genesisgrid.co.uk. That's www.genesisgrid.co.uk. One Florida drug dealer made a serious mistake when he dared peddle his poisons on the schoolyard of Robert W. Morgan's preteen daughter. Morgan, a budding film director, tracked him to his hidden Everglades lair where his meth lab mysteriously blew sky high. When Morgan's demands to police to make grammar school playgrounds safer from drugs were ignored, he sought the counsel of CIA operative Frank Sturgis. Again, he was warned to give up what was becoming an obsession. Instead, Robert used his reputation as a filmmaker to infiltrate the mafia by stroking their egos and offering to make films for them offshore so they could import them as foreign product without paying taxes. When they agreed to build him a studio in Panama, Robert called the DEA and FBI and offered to work undercover. In time, their combined efforts revealed how the mob was secretly laundering billions of dollars through the Vatican Bank in Rome before returning to the States as foreign investments. Now read Morgan's story, Citizen Spy, Vatican Cover-Up, The Mob, Money Laundering, and Murder, available at Amazon.com, BN.com, and Borders.com.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide on the Starcom radio network, 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll free. My email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV, and you can listen to the X Zone 724-365 at www.xzoneradiotv.com. As you know, Exonation, June 26, 27, 28 was the Alien Cosmic Expo that was held in Brantford, Ontario. And I've got to tell you something. It was a blast. There were people there from all over, and the speakers were fascinating. The vendors and the psychics, the aura photography. It was a complete event. And joining me now to take a look back in time is one of the very two, how could we say this? Professional experience. Yeah, that's a good start. Joining me now is JOANNE EADIE. She is one of the two organizers with Heather Masters. And JOANNE, welcome back to the X Zone. JOANNE, are you there? JOANNE, are you there? JOANNE, are you there? I don't know where Joanne is. Let's try this again. Joanne, are you there?
I am here.
Ah, found you. How are you, dear?
There we go. I answered all 4 times.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. It must be Mercury in retrograde.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations
oh my gosh, Rob.
on a
all I
great...
can think of is that old song, Wasn't That a Party?
It was.
It was, like once it began Friday morning, Heather and I decided we've done all we can do. We just need to now sit back and enjoy our event. And we did.
But you know what? I watched you and Heather. You did not sit back. You were busy the entire 3 days.
We were, but, we decided not to be stressed, not to be, over-organizing, just looking after the needs of anybody that came up and really enjoying meeting everyone. We had people from Peru, Alberta, United States, UK. It just was so interesting, the different people that came together, and we just enjoyed every bit of it. People chatted with us, as if they'd known us for years.
What was your most memorable moment, if you can just pick one, out of the entire 3-day event?
I think it was, I sat in on the MUFON, Emily Trim story. And what a delightful young woman she is. She was very, very nervous.
Yeah.
And, you could see that everyone in the audience wanted to just give her a hug. You could feel that energy in the room. And she just relaxed, and then she talked and told her story.
Well, why don't you tell our listeners who Emily is?
Okay, so Emily Trim, this was the first time she had ever spoken in public and answered questions. She was one of the children in Zimbabwe, 1992. I think I have that correct. The children were all out on the playground for recess, and something touched down, and beings emerged and interacted with the children. And she is now one of those children that is now an adult, and spoke for the first time about what happened and what went on. Now, it was a brief talk, but it was powerful, it was riveting, she just so simply explained everything. And she talked about how the beings immediately were, mental telepathy was used. So in other words, the thoughts just came into her mind, what they were relaying to her.
Wow.
And her friend were at the back of the playground, and there were 2 beings. One was conversing with her friend, and one was conversing with her, both through mental telepathy. And we tend to think, gee, that'd be really cool. I'd like to do that. But I think of course they were 8 years old, number one. Number 2, had never seen such a being. And number 3, just all of a sudden all these thoughts are in your head that you have no control over because they're coming from someone else.
Right.
So
fascinating.
I actually got the last question with Emily. When she told, briefly told her story and whatnot, and talked about her feelings about it and everything else, then she opened the floor up to question and answer.
What was your question?
Well, I asked Stu if I could be the last one because I wanted the last question to be light and fun.
And you wanted to have the last word.
I sure did. You know me too well. No, what I asked her was, because of the mental telepathy end of it, I said, one day I picked up my granddaughter from high school. all the way home in the car, her thumbs were just flying on her phone.
Right.
And she was texting someone. And I mean, we're a good 10 kilometers or more from the school, maybe 15. All the way home, her thumbs are just flying. And I went, finally, I said to her, boy, that's a long message. And she said, no, I'm talking to 6 different people.
Oh, my gosh.
You know. So then I read somewhere on the Internet that someone believes that the texting between the teenagers is the beginning or baby steps of mental telepathy. Now, let me explain that a bit. You know, families now are, you know, instead of hollering up the stairs, come for dinner, they text each other, come for dinner. They can be sitting almost in the same room and text each other. Instead of that verbal communication, their communication is nonverbal.
You know what?
Therefore, go ahead.
I don't know if I look at that as progress. I look at it as, you know, geez, people are lazy. They don't want to talk anymore. What's going to happen to the art of communication until mental telepathy is developed?
Yeah, they do talk, though. They talk in great sentences because of they text a lot to each other. I don't know if that theory is correct, but it brought a smile to Emily's face. She laughed right out loud. Yeah. She thought about the question for a minute, and I said, or you can just say, I don't know, I have no idea. And she said, I don't know, I have no idea.
Oh, my gosh.
So everybody just had a light moment at the end of a very tense thing for Emily. And, you know, you can say what you want about, oh, well, let it go. And, you know, now you're a big girl and who cares and all this other stuff. But it was a very intense and profound experience for these children. So the documentary all about this will be coming out soon. The producer was there, filmed her talk, and that will be part of the documentary. So ACE is actually going to be mentioned on this documentary, so I'm excited about that. That's good.
I also know that Dr. John Mack did extensive interviews with the girls in Zimbabwe, as Stanton Friedman did as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting case that has not been brought to any conclusion one way or another.
No.
Yeah.
And I from what I understand, the producer of this documentary is being very thorough and very professional and this has taken years to put this together. So I said to him, hurry up, I can't wait to see it now. We saw a little trailer of it, and it looks very, very good.
So what did you come out of the 3 days after mixing with the different speakers that were there, the different exhibitors that were there, the psychics, the different people that were there, and who were all seemed to be looking. Some seemed to be looking for answers, and others seemed to be there to give answers. It was a great event.
Yeah, a great exchange of ideas, and that's exactly what we wanted it to be. Gave people a platform to come and talk about this, because maybe if you try to talk to your next door neighbor about this, they don't want to listen. They don't want to hear about it. They don't believe in it. They don't want to believe in it. They don't want to, anything to do with it. And so you end up isolated if you want to talk about this subject, out in the general public. So it gave a platform for people to just come together and really discuss things, and you could see them coming out of a talk, just chatting away, and then, we did a lot of observing as well. Even though Heather and I were really busy most of the weekend, we did a lot of observing as well, and just watching people, as you say, were they seeking? Were they? Did they have questions they want answered? Did they want help with something? And some of our vendors who do those kinds of readings and whatnot, I think were very effective in moving people forward with whether they're fears or just curiosities or whatever it was.
What other speakers did you sit in on, and what were your general observations?
Well, I always sit near the back of the room, and I'm always watching. So I'm watching the reaction of people, and I sat in on just bits and pieces of different speakers. Because I couldn't be away from the desk a long time. It just seemed like every time I was away too long, there was some question somebody had, and so I would check back in often. But I was particularly moved by Larry Campbell. He's that Downeasterner who's just so unassuming and so just a general person like you and me who has gotten these gifts.
Now, is he the gentleman who was making the sacred geometry tools?
He was.
Right, gotcha.
Yes, and when he did his talk, he did an audience clearing. He did it with the entire audience. He brought in the ancient ones and the way he does, and you have to see it. It's really hard to explain what he does. But some people who see energy were observing that all the angelic beings, the positive beings that were in the room, and actually moving between the people, and people were very, very genuinely, profoundly moved by his talk and the general healing of the whole room at the same time.
Fascinating. Two other great speakers that were there, Stanton T. Friedman, the great-grandfather of ufology himself, and then the Honorable Paul Hellyer, the former Defense Minister and Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. Wow. How did you pull that off?
You know what? Both those gentlemen, we just emailed them, and they accepted.
Wow.
And really, our whole slate of speakers, we had a long list that we emailed, and we feel it was all divinely guided. Honestly, Rob, I know that sounds very out there and woo-woo and everything, but we emailed a very long list, and some never replied. Some replied they were busy, and the ones that said yes, we feel was the absolute perfect collection, if you want to call it, of topics and people and viewpoints. And Stanton, now, I met him in Toronto when he spoke in Toronto, but he was very busy there, and there wasn't much of a chance to get to know him. But over the weekend at ACE, we certainly got to know Stanton, and Heather and I actually watched him really come out and blossom, if you want to call it, in that he really, really loved talking to the people. He did his talks, but then he would be at his table, which every speaker had the opportunity to have a table, and he had his books out and his DVDs, and people lined up, and whether he was speaking, whether he had just spoken or just was at his table, people were always around his table talking with him.
Yeah.
And he really enjoyed talking to the people rather than just doing a speech.
No, he was never too busy to stop and talk, and this was one of the things that I heard from a lot of the people who were coming into the Grand Ballroom to listen to speakers was Stanton Friedman. Wow, he took time to talk to me and answered all my questions, as did Paul Hellyer.
Yes. And one thing I noticed about those two gentlemen as well was that I saw them sitting on other people's talks.
Yes.
They are just sponges for knowledge. And no, even though they were probably the most well known and the biggest draws for the weekend, they thirst for knowledge themselves, and they sat in on many of the other speakers' talks.
Yeah.
I like it when people are open to others' points of view, their information. It isn't just all about them.
You know, you had so many interesting speakers: Grant Cameron, Len Kasten, Michael Horn. Such a diversification, and then young Jason Quitt.
Yeah,
like my heavens.
Yeah,
he's going to be somebody to watch out for in the future.
He really is.
Yeah,
and he's more or less an unknown in this world, but he's not an unknown in the dowsing world,
right?
Or he had just been asked to go to Japan in June, and had just got back before ACE. I remember when he told me that he was going to Japan. He goes, "Don't worry, I'll be back. I'll be back." And because as soon as I heard June, I thought, "Oh my gosh, is he going to cancel on me?" And because I knew that people would want to hear his message.
Yeah.
And he's just such an unassuming, quiet, yet smart young man. He looks young too, and the knowledge that comes out of his mouth, you just start saying, "Oh, he's wise, well beyond his years."
Were there any pleasant surprises for you ladies?
Well, I think the whole thing. I think that it went so well, that people were so happy with it, that the compliments we got, and that everybody had a good time. That's the most important thing, is that we all had a good time.
The venue was beautiful.
It really was nice. I'm not sure whether it'll be there next year. I think we need a bigger venue.
I think so, but the food was excellent. The service was great. It's a beautiful property. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are your plans for next year?
Well, we've barely had time for the post-mortem from this year.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on here. You can't call it a post-mortem.
Oh, well, to me, that's just a picking apart what went well, what didn't go well.
I look at a post-mortem as...
what we should change, what we should leave alone.
Okay.
And, maybe that's the wrong words, is it?
Like post-mortem, isn't that what you... when you dissect something that's dead?
I guess. I look at it as a dissection of what can be done better, what should be left alone.
So a review.
But, just kind of reminiscing over what went well on the weekend. But, for next year, we probably will not make it 3 days. Mm-hmm. Friday was good attendance, but not as good as Saturday, Sunday.
Well, that's because people are working on Fridays.
A lot of people still are working on Friday. But the people who did attend on Friday had a great time, and they had more time with the speakers. They didn't have to wait so long to see each one and whatnot. But we may just begin with Friday night, like a big gala Friday night. That might be something new for next year.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
And we have to think about whether we'll have enough room. Mm-hmm. I think that we had a lot of vendors, and I think we'll have even more next year. And the vendors are an important part of this event because of what they do. We didn't just pick people who were standing ready to sell a product. Mm-hmm. They mostly had some sort of a service, and very interesting people just to chat with. And I know that the conspiracy culture. I watched. They had a big. 3 or 4 tables, all of books and DVDs, and I watched that shrinking over the weekend. Mm-hmm. So people certainly could get the information they wanted. Like if they wanted a new book or saw some new information that they wanted to have. And, just the wide variety that we had in it was almost like how do I explain it? An expo in itself. It was an expo within the expo.
Yes, it was.
Right.
Yeah. Patty Greer
and
was...
I think that's going to grow next year, so that I see it becoming something like the health show in Toronto, where there's a massive floor of vendors, and then speaking rooms as well.
Yeah.
They are of equal value.
Definitely, because it brings something for everyone.
Yes.
Patty Greer was great. I fully enjoyed Patty Greer. She is a real sweetheart.
She's so interesting. And, she makes jokes and is very bubbly and everything else outside of her talk. But boy, when she starts talking crop circles, she gets right down to business, doesn't she?
Oh, she sure does. And her videos were so compelling.
Yes. And brings that, points out things that if you were just watching them yourself, you would miss. Like she'll point it out, and then you go, oh, yeah, I didn't even see that. She
did that a few times.
Yeah, really interesting. I'm not going to give it away. I it's over and done with. But of course, we for sure may have Patty back. But I don't know. Maybe we should give it away. Like, I thought it was fascinating, the new information on how a crop circle is formed. So, how did you think, or did you already know how the crop circles are formed?
I'll tell you when we come back.
Theory.
I'll come back I'll tell you as soon as we come back from this short commercial break. Exonation. Our special guest this hour is JOANNE EADIE, and she, along with Heather Masters, put together the great first Alien Cosmic Expo in Brantford, Ontario. And I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue with JOANNE right here live and around the world on the Starcom Radio Network. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Are you considering calling a psychic in your situation? Then consider David Champion, a psychic medium for more than 20 years with thousands of readings under his belt. David Champion will make you feel comfortable. He has proven to be honest and accurate. He's a straight shooter. There's no guesswork. What he sees is what you get. While he is a medium, most of the calls focus on relationships, not only love, but work, school, neighbors, and more. Need help with finding a job and preparing for the interview? Are you dealing with people who are obstacles in your path? For more information, go to davidchampion.com, $1.50 per minute paid by credit card with a minimum of 30 minutes. For your reading with David Champion, call 1-877-702-8598. That's 1-877-702-8598. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com, or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464. Fartlets, fartlings, pongies, and honkers. They have so many names, makes you go bonkers. Rear tempest, butt bubbles, bottom burps, all aside. Why does it smell like a little rat died? Hail the fart, whenever, wherever, whoever. Its existence actually enriches our lives because it gives us those unforgettable moments that we can all recall again and again that are always good for yet another laugh. A new expose on farting. Get your copy of The Endearing Fart by Eileen Dover at www.theendearingfart.com. How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Hi, this is Eric Rawls of Cosmoverse.com, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone.
Hi, this is Blade Runner, and you are listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, I'm Laura Sabrin of Feast of Fields Organic Vineyards in Jordan, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, my name is Lady Ashley, the White Witch of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal talk radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you around the world, live from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Starcom Radio Network. Worldwide toll-free 800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our main website where you can listen to the X-Zone 724, 365, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is JOANNE EADIE. JOANNE, along with Heather Masters, pulled off the Canadian event for 2015. It was called the Alien Cosmic Expo. It was held in Brantford, Ontario, June 26, June 27, and June 28. It was 3 days. Well, you could talk to dowsers, you could talk to hypnotists, you could talk to Stanton T. Friedman, Paul Hellier, Grant Cameron, Len Kasten, Dr. Georgina Cannon, and the list goes on and on and on. All these great people in one place, Brantford, Ontario. And JOANNE, again, congratulations to you and Heather for a job spectacularly done.
Oh, thank you, Rob. That's so kind. We were very pleased with the way it came out, and the way people enjoyed themselves, and the way speakers that were lesser known also became known, or were people were talking to them. Bob Mitchell, right from Brantford, here, originally from Oakville or Toronto area, but just the fact that people could talk to these speakers and get questions asked well after their talk. We didn't allow a question answer during the talks because it's just too hard to, and you waste so much time running around with a microphone so that everybody can hear the questions. So we more or less kept it to the talks, and then you could have ample time to see them at their tables.
Sure.
And people took advantage of that.
It was great all the way around. Now,
right.
Are you a dowser?
I am.
How does dowsing work?
Well, everybody has a different explanation for that. Some people, they'll pick up their pendulum and they'll ask the question. They'll say, my pendulum says. Well, I don't believe that the pendulum is just an outward visual of what you actually know inside, and that your muscles are relaying to the object that you're spinning or using, such as L rods. So it accesses inner information that you already know the answer to. Because I've been dowsing a long time, and now often, before I can even grab my pendulum out of a drawer or out of a purse or pick it up off the table and form the question, I've already got the answer. And it's in my head, and the pendulum just confirms it. That's taken a while to happen.
Right.
I used to have to go through the whole thing from the beginning and get my answer, and then I would ask it several ways, and that wasn't because I doubted the answer. I just wanted to make sure I was asking the question properly, because you can ask it. You can ask a question like, does my car need gas? Well, you're always going to get a yes, because every car needs gas.
True.
But if you form the question, does my tank need filling now? Then you get the proper answer. So I asked the question in a couple of different ways to try and actually at ACE, this was fascinating because a lot of my dowsing friends who all think outside the box were some of the people who attended ACE.
Right.
And, it doesn't matter what event you attend. Everybody leaves an imprint. Everybody leaves their own energies there. So, for instance, when we have our dowsing meeting, the first thing we do is clear the room. We rent a little one-room schoolhouse across the road from where I live, and it has events all the time. It's rented almost constantly. It's just a little community center now, and but it is constantly rented out. So let's say they have an event and let's say it's a public meeting,
right?
And there's very strong opinions, and people come and they're speaking their opinions. Well, all of those people leave an imprint, and it might be an angry imprint or a negative imprint, just depending on what they're talking about. And so we don't want those interfering with our imprints, which we hope are positive. We try to make them higher vibration, positive imprints. But if somebody's had a fight with their wife and they come to the event, then that's the imprint you leave. And so we clear all that energy away with a pendulum or an L rod, or just by intent. And at first I always had to go through all that, and I mostly ask the question, can I, may I, should I? So can I, do I have the ability to answer this question? May I, do I have the permission? And should I, is it interfering with that person? Now, there's other dowsers who believe that you don't need permission. If you're doing it for good, if you are asking questions on the behalf of someone else and it's for their highest and best interest, that's what we mostly use. Is it in the highest and best interest? That if it's not wanted, it will just bounce back. So there's different theories about dowsing and different ways people do it.
So
the dowsing. And
when you do the clearing, where does that energy go that is negative?
Right. It dispels up into the
cosmos?
And higher vibration, other dimensions. We send it to the light.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What are some of the common uses for dowsing?
Finding water. That is the thing that people connect with the most.
Yeah.
And 100 years ago, I think every town had a dowser to find the well for the houses being built. But now, of course, they have modern technology. Although I doused the well for our farm, and now this was after I had a workshop here with Susan Collins, who was one of my speakers.
Yes.
She is a very knowledgeable lady and a master dowser. And she taught the workshop on how to find the well. And it was very interesting because we went out, we learned what we needed to learn, and then we went out to practice outside. And everybody was to go ahead and apply the skills and see what we came up with. So one fella came up to her, and he said, now I've found, because you ask for the water flow to be, so many gallons a minute, it needs to be a minimum of 5 or 6 gallons a minute. You don't want a well that that produces less than that. And he said, I found that, and he said, it's not too far down. I found that, because you don't want a well that's 300 feet down.
No,
because it's just too costly to bring that to the surface. He says it's just 50 feet down, and he says, but it's sulfur water, so we don't want that. And the thing is, with Susan's protocol, if your intent while you're looking for the water is going through the protocol and asking the proper questions, she said you never should have found sulfur water, because we ask for potable, drinkable, sweet water.
But how does it work? What's the...
Your body picks up the electromagnetic frequency of the water under the earth.
Gotcha.
Right. And this has been done since Bible times. The Bible actually has quite a few references to dowsing. Now, Susan has a little booklet on that that is kind of interesting to look at. But many of the dowsers were there clearing the energies constantly all weekend to keep the building and the event in a positive direction.
Super.
And you can believe that or not believe that, but it certainly works in my eyes.
Well, I was there, so I know it worked.
Yeah. It was pleasant energy. There was no negativity that I heard or felt, and everybody had a good time.
They had a great time. How long?
So, going back to that question that we went off with, how do you think the crop circles were formed before you heard Patty? Like, going back a couple months, what was your... I know that my own opinion of crop circles, I always listened to all the explanations, everything from the farmer did it overnight, which I thought was ridiculous, to, that it was spaceships, or it was some special thing that came in and stamped it out. But some of these are acres big. Yeah. And I no explanation really fed my curiosity. I always thought, well, that might be that way, but it really doesn't. You know how when you hear truth, it's like that hair on your arm stands up, or you just know that's truth. And when Patty said she feels the energies come up through the earth,
it makes total sense.
And form it, doesn't it, though?
It does, because that's the exact same way as that dowsing works.
Yes.
Okay, so we know...
And I'd never thought of it.
Yeah.
But when she said the energies come up through the earth and form that crop circle overnight, that made sense to me.
Yeah.
And so until it's disproved, I guess I think it's the most plausible explanation. And, and I do believe they do have messages of new energies for us, the crop circles.
Well, I'm not too sure about the messages part. That I'm still unclear about.
That one, I guess I'm still a little bit wondering about that one too, because I think that the messages should be clearer.
Exactly.
If that's what it is. We should have gotten it by now, because crop circles have been talked about since the late 90s.
Oh, before that
maybe
too.
before.
Yeah. You know, there's been crop circles found in crops, in sand, in the desert, as well as in snow.
Yeah.
You know, so there's more to it than meets the eye, and I think Patty's close on the actual cause. And like you, I believe that it has something to do with the electromagnetic field, that these messages are coming up. Maybe something to do, because apparently a lot of these crop circles are near ley lines.
Yes. They seem to be formed in a certain place, in a certain way that follows the. I can't talk on it like Patty does, but you know that it's almost like the top of it almost is formed with the ley line.
Right.
Yeah. So and you know, European buildings. You can go to any country in Europe, you know, that have been around for centuries, and at that time they always used a dowser to. My brain won't work tonight. So that you put the house on in the proper direction on the piece of land you had, and it was all done through dowsing. The same thing with the bricks. The bricks were all dowsed as to how they were laid.
And it's just like the Chinese using feng shui.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why these things have lasted all the centuries they have. Because how many houses have just crumbled and they're gone?
Oh, many.
Many. So the ones that have, you know, they used that for are still standing. The old castles and cathedrals and things like that. You know, I'll tell you something interesting that happened after ACE.
Okay.
Michael Telstar was one of the speakers talking about remote viewing.
Yeah.
And you know him very well.
Yes, I do.
And so I emailed all the speakers on Monday. Now, I was leaving for a vacation after ACE, and we got back last night and got back in the office today. And but on Monday, just before I left, I emailed all the speakers to say thank you for such a wonderful weekend, and you know, it was just such a wonderful weekend of networking and fun and laughter and information. And so then, you know, I left very early in the morning because we drove down to Myrtle Beach. And Michael Telstar, I got my email on my iPhone while I was there, and Michael Telstar emailed me back, as all the speakers did. They all hit reply to all, and had such wonderful positive messages that we've kept and we'll be using next year to put on the website and whatnot. And but Michael Telstar said to me, "Joanne, I was remote viewing and I picked you up in Niagara Falls with someone. Did you go to Niagara Falls on Monday?" I just started to laugh because Sunday and Monday, we were taking speakers back to the airport. And I had promised Len Caston that I would take him to Niagara Falls, not only to Buffalo Airport, but that we would actually stop and see the falls.
Oh,
he had never
my
seen
gosh.
And so we were there, and we started at well, first of all, I had to show him the street with all the wax museums and
Clifton
the one
Hill,
street that goes up the hill.
Yeah.
And so we actually parked there, and we had a quick bit of salad for lunch, and then we walked down the hill, and we started with the U.S. Falls, and he took many pictures, and then we kept walking up, and he kept taking different views until we got up to the Horseshoe Falls, where we could stand very, very close, where it goes right over.
Yeah.
And that is such a powerful visual thing to watch. And then we walked back to the car, and then I took him to Buffalo Airport. But isn't that funny that Michael picked up on that?
Nothing Michael does has ever surprised me.
And the nice thing was that Len Caston had wanted to visit Niagara Falls for years because his parents had honeymooned there.
Oh, my gosh.
And so he wanted to, they had talked about it so many times.
Right.
And he had always wanted to see it, and he just had never got there. And I said, well, you just can't go back without seeing it, so we made a stop there.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, but Michael knew. Now I wonder if he can see me, all the time.
You never know with Michael Telstar.
You never know.
Never know. Listen, Joanne, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. It was a pleasure, as always, talking to
pleasure.
you. Again, congratulations to you and Heather. You're two very fine ladies, and all I can say...
Congratulations to you as well, because you were such a big part of us, of helping us to publicize this, to get the word out, interviewing the speakers, interviewing the vendors, and it's just a pleasure working with you.
Thank you so much, my friend. And you and I will be in contact. You know how to get a hold of me, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet. But we do have to do one thing the next time you and Heather and I meet. Are you ready for this?
I am.
We have to do some Coors Light.
Yes! I'm in.
Joanne, take care, sweetie. Please give my very best to Heather. And once again, congratulations on a super job done.
Thanks.
Take care now. Bye-bye. Exo Nation, the one and only JOANNE EADIE, and her partner in crime. Well, they're not in crime, really. They're just super ladies. Heather Masters did what many could never do, and that is pull together for 3 days what is going to set the standards for every other UFO, alien seminar, exhibition, whatever you want to call it. From now on, they have to come up to the line that was put very high by two ladies, JOANNE EADIE and Heather Masters, the two organizers of the Alien Cosmic Expo. Two super ladies. And I can hardly wait till next year, because you know what? They're going to do it again. I've got that feeling. I'm not a psychic, but it makes perfect sense. When you're good at something, you do it again. I'll be back on the other side of the top of the hour with Linnea Johansson's going to be joining me. We're going to be talking about psychic phenomenon, reincarnation, and much more. This is the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. This is truly a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and around the world on the Starcom Radio Network. Speaking about Starcom, if you want to listen to what radio should sound like, is going to sound like, listen to my friend Ed Till, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. right here on Starcom. I'll be back on the other side of the top of the hour as we continue with yours truly, Rob McConnell, here in the X-Zone. Don't go away.
In the world today, most people want what is called the American dream. They want love, a family, a fancy car, and a nice home in a nice neighborhood. They also want a good job and money to travel to interesting places. Life is great because they have the American dream. But what happens to this dream if they hear they have a devastating illness like lung cancer? The doctor may tell them they need treatment immediately or they will be dead in 6 months. He tells them, you need surgery, and then you need chemotherapy to get better. When they get home, they think of many unanswered questions. They ask themselves, will I survive when so many of my friends with cancer have died? How will I deal with the pain, hair loss, nausea and vomiting, sore mouth, and other side effects of chemotherapy and pain of surgery? Will I be able to keep on working? What will happen to my family? Then they look at the internet and wonder, is there a better way to deal with lung cancer and return to my American dream? Carl Helvey can tell you yes, there is a better way. Carl Helvey is a registered nurse with a doctorate in public health and a 38-year lung cancer survivor. Carl was given 6 months to live when diagnosed, and he refused chemotherapy and surgery. Carl used alternative interventions. Those not only helped him overcome lung cancer, but also to remain cancer-free and healthy for over the past 36 years since recovery. In his book, You Can Beat Cancer Using Alternative Integrative Interventions, Dr. Helvey will tell you his story of using all-natural treatments for lung cancer and continuing to work during his treatment. Free of pain and discomfort, Carl will also share how he remained cancer and disease-free since then without chronic illnesses or prescribed medications. His story is supplemented with chapters by Dr. Bernie Siegel, Dr. Francesco Contreras, and Dr. James Forsyth, alternative integrative physicians, and Dr. Kim Dalzell and Tanya Harder-Pierce, health professionals. All have successfully helped others overcome cancer. Research presented by the alternative physicians on their treatments for lung cancer demonstrate a significantly higher long-term survival rate for lung cancer clients than those obtained by conventional doctors. In addition, their clients were free of or had reduced side effects. You Can Beat Lung Cancer Using Alternative Integrative Interventions by Dr. Carl Helvey is now available at all major book outlets and at www.beatlungcancer.net. That's www.beatlungcancer.net. This information may help you return to the American dream. In the early 1980s, when AIDS-related infections became more and more frequent, Frida Wagman's son, Gary, who lived in San Francisco, informed her of a medical journal article he had read. It told of an infection which seemed, at the time, to be affecting only gay men. Gary sent her a copy of this article with his notation,
"Nothing to worry about, just for your information."
Soon it was something to worry about when Gary told his mother that he had been diagnosed with that very condition. In time, the virus causing this and other rare infections became known as HIV and was the precursor to acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS. Frida immediately joined a group in her community to help people who were ill with this new phenomena in order to learn all she could to prepare herself for what her son might have to live with or die from. During the following 12 years, while she monitored Gary's health, Frida met a multitude of people who were already near the end stage of their lives. The hands-on care became more and more intense as the caseload increased. It was during those years that the author learned the full meaning of close and personal relationships, how and what to speak to someone who has lost all of their ability to care for themselves. Maintaining their dignity was of the utmost importance, and the experience transformed her into a more understanding and compassionate person. This book tells of those learning experiences by focusing on some of the individuals Miss Wagman helped for brief periods because, as the title implies, they only came into her life at the end stage of theirs. Thus, each of their stories is a snippet of the total message of the book. During those years, Ms. Wagman spent Gary's vacation time with him, traveling to foreign countries and exploring California, Nevada, and Oregon, each time noting the subtle changes in Gary's health from one year to the next. He preferred to live his life as he had known it before HIV and asked his mother to do the same. But at the end, she was with him and recounts the emotional and touching goodbye in Davies Medical Center in San Francisco, California. For more information, or to get your very own copy of this award-winning book, Snippets from the Trenches, A Mother's AIDS Memoir by author Frida Wagman, please visit her website at www.snippetsfromthetrenches.com. That's www.snippetsfromthetrenches.com. Join Doug Elwell